Welcome, welcome. Welcome once again. Welcome once again. A new opportunity. Welcome once again. Welcome to Songs of Psalms, everybody. How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing? So I want to welcome you to Songs of Psalms. This is chapter 90. We are on chapter 90. Yes, you heard me right. 90. We are on chapter 90 of the Psalms, the Songs of Psalms. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to say that. But the Songs of Psalms are a study in the book of Psalms. It's a songwriting study. We're looking at these songs that were written from a songwriting perspective, basically. And so we are back to do another chapter. And it's been a fascinating journey to study each and every song, every prayer that was written, because we know that it was written with purpose. It was written with purpose. And this psalm is going to be no different than any other ones that we have read. And I think that that's a unique gift of songwriting and what it offers people, because, songs, they capture moments of our lives. That's good. Songs, they capture moments of our lives. And they capture the experiences, the emotions we feel, the ambiance of where we're at. It can capture struggle. It captures joy. Songwriting and songs capture all of those things. And what would replace that? If we didn't have that, what would be in place of that? If we didn't have the songs to tell the stories of our lives, how would we remember the things that happen in our lives? I mean, some of y'all have good memory. Y'all have a good memory. But if you know me, you know that my memory skills, they lack. They lack. And the unique thing is that God has always put around me people that have very good memory. Like, for instance, my husband, he remembers pretty much everything. He remembers people, he just remembers things. And I'm just not that kind of, like, I can't. Good morning, Abby. Welcome. I don't remember things. I feel like I live in the moment. And once that moment is gone, I pretty much move on and I don't remember it again. It's very hard for me. Like, people say to me, you remember this? I'm like, I don't. I don't remember it. But that's where I was built. But God has surrounded me with people that remember things, which is pretty good. But let me tell you a story I do remember. And this goes back when I was dating my husband, when I kind of first met him, and we just started going out, and he brought me to his house to meet his mother. And I remember it being a summer day, and I remember going to his porch, and I remember her being happy to meet me, and I think she was just so happy that my husband was just with someone, was with a girl, and so she was just happy for him. So she was happy to meet me, and it didn't matter that I was Spanish, because my husband's African American, and so I kind of thought maybe before going into that meeting, I thought maybe she might think a little different of me because I was different, right, than what she maybe would have expected. But anyway, I was thrilled. I was thrilled that she was easy to talk to, and she was just a fun person, and it was just such a nice moment. And I remember this moment, and I think I remember it because the radio must have been playing in the background somehow. I didn't know it, or maybe I didn't pay attention to it, but it had to be playing in the background. And I can tell you that I distinctly remember the essence of how that afternoon felt. I can remember that it was hot. There was no breeze. You know, the summer days, they're just, you know, they're hot and muggy and sticky. And so I remember that it felt like that way. And I remember feeling complete and carefree. And I remember just feeling happy and full of the beauty of life, right? And so I have like a beautiful, distinct moment. Good morning, Nina. God bless you, Marilyn. Marilyn, we're going to talk about Psalm 90 today. This is the intro, but I'm going down memory lane here when I first met my husband. And so I just remember that setting. I remember the setting, that it was hot. It was sticky. I remember just talking to my future mother-in-law-to-be. I was meeting her for the very first time. And it was just like a very carefree moment. And if you know me, you know I don't remember things. I don't capture memories. Certain things I do, and a lot I don't. I don't remember a lot of details from my life, but you know, I know that I've lived a great and happy life. Anyway, I asked myself, how did I tap into that moment so vividly? That moment when I met my husband's mom. At the time, he was my boyfriend, but I remember that moment so vividly. I mean, I can literally see that afternoon in my mind's eye. And whenever I think about it, it's like I'm reliving it. And do you want to know why? Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why? You know, every now and then, I'll come across this song that I'll hear. And some of y'all will remember it. Younger ones, you probably would never have heard this song. But, you know, those of us that have been around for a little bit, you'll remember this song. And the song is called Lady in Red. It was written by Chris DeBerg. And let me see. I don't know if I can sing it here. Lady in Red is dancing with me, cheek to cheek. There's nobody here, it's just you and me. Where I wanna be, but I hardly know this beauty by my side. I'll never forget the way you look tonight. If y'all heard this song, just let me know. Let me know if y'all heard that song. But that song is so, to me, it's so beautiful. First of all, songwriting wise, it is, it takes my breath away, because I can't imagine someone being so in love. This song that was written by Chris DeBerg, he wrote this song about his wife. They went to a party and he saw, oh, Abby says she loves that song. Oh my gosh, Abby. So now whenever you hear this song, you probably remember how much it means to me. He wrote this song because he saw his wife walk into a room, and it was like she took his breath away. He didn't realize it was his wife. So he wrote the Lady in Red. Anyway, such a beautiful song. The emotion of that song it just touches me. Anyway, let me get back, because I'm all caught up in my emotions right now, just thinking about that song and thinking about how beautiful and how much love was poured into the song. The guy wrote about his wife, how in love he felt with his wife. Marilyn says she's singing with me. Don't cry with me, y'all. I'm over here crying because I'm thinking about how beautiful that song is. Well, anyway, the reason why I bring up this song is because every time I hear this song, it transports me back in time to that afternoon when I first met Lucille Jones. That's my husband's wife. The very first time I met her, we were on his porch and we were talking, and we just spent this beautiful afternoon. And oh my gosh, first of all, I miss her so much. She's in heaven with Jesus. But I remember every time I hear this song, I remember that moment of being on that porch. I remember my brother-in-law being there. And I just remember us talking and laughing and just having a beautiful time. It's such a beautiful memory. And it's so touching and so profound to me that this song, every time I hear it, it takes me back to that moment. It takes me back to that day in 1987. And there must have been other songs playing on the radio that day, but I don't remember them. I couldn't tell you one song that played that day. But that song must have been playing in the background, and I must have heard it somehow. And like, you know, you're not paying attention, but somehow something about that song captures that afternoon for me. And it's so special to me that if I hear it, I can go back and remember that moment. That it was just like a very casual moment, but yet today when I think about it, it's so special. And it brings tears to my eyes because I remember that day so fondly. And you know, I'm thankful that 34 years later, I'm still with my husband, still making great memories. And I know that you've had moments like that too in your life. Like that you've had moments where a song brought you back in time. A song took you back to a moment in your life. And I pray that it's good moments, because you know, songs might capture bad moments too, right? And so it is it is powerful that a song can do that. And I think that's the only, maybe like a smell, maybe a smell will take you back in time too, right? But I think songs are so special that they can do that, that they have the power to bring you back in time, bring you back into a moment of your life. And I pray again that it's a special moment for you, that the songs that you remember bring you back to a special place. Okay, so you're probably saying, all right, like we're here to talk about Psalm 90, aren't we? But yes, we are. And you know, the reason why I bring it up, because this particular psalm also captured a moment in time. And you know, I like to deep dive into these psalms and try to, you know, pull as much as I can apart so I can learn from it, because for me, I'm learning to better write songs. And so yeah, so that's why we're deep diving into it. But you know, we're gonna go into this psalm, but I wanted to understand what this psalm was about, because I was intrigued who wrote it. I was intrigued who wrote it. Right from the beginning, it says that this is a prayer of Moses, the man of God. He wrote Psalm 90. And Psalm 90 is the first psalm that was included in book 4 of the collection of the Psalms. The Psalms, there's 150 Psalms. You've heard me say this before. There's 150 Psalms, and all of them were put into, I guess, categories, into collections. There were a total of 5 collections. This is the first Psalm in book 4, the book 4 collection. And the Bible says that Moses wrote it. Moses wrote this psalm. And he's a really, he's a really special guy. God thought highly of David and everybody. God thinks highly of everybody. But there was something about Moses that was a little bit just, he was just in a category of his own. He was in a category of his own. This is what the Bible says that God said of Moses. In Exodus 33, it says that the Lord would speak to Moses face to face as a man speaks to his friend. Think about that. Exodus 33, it says that God spoke to Moses face to face. In the Bible, it says that no one has seen the face of God. No one that's living. Or if you saw the face of God, you would die. But what was it about Moses that he was considered a friend of God? The Bible says that God spoke to him face to face as a man speaks to a friend. Good morning, Daddy. God bless you. The Bible also says in Acts 7:20, it says that when Moses was born, he was beautiful in God's sight. Did you ever read that? I was like, I've read Acts probably several times. I don't remember that standing out to me. That when Moses was born, he was beautiful in God's sight. The Bible also says in Deuteronomy 18:18, this is what God said of Moses. He said, I will raise up for them a prophet like you. He was talking to Moses, and he said, I will raise up a prophet like you from among their brothers. And I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command. Did you hear that? In case you didn't hear it, I'm going to repeat it again. He said, God told Moses, he said, I'm going to raise up a prophet. I will raise for them a prophet like you. He was talking about Jesus. God was talking about Jesus. Oh, Marilyn says she just read Exodus 32 last night. Well, girl, you had to have read this. That the Lord speaks to Moses face to face the way he speaks to a man, a friend. Imagine. It just shows how special Moses was. Thank you, Daddy. You're so sweet. That's why I like to have him on my side, because he puffs me up. Love you, Daddy. Where was I? Deuteronomy 18:18, where God told Moses that he was going to raise up a prophet like you. And so when I read that, I was like, wow. So before Jesus, there was Moses. And there had to be something about Moses that God said, I'm going to raise him up like you. Like you. What was it like him? I mean, we're not here to study Moses, but I would love to do a study on Moses. He's such an interesting person because of the relationship that he had with God. And so God didn't compare Jesus to anyone else. He didn't say like David, there were major prophets in the Bible. There was Isaiah, and there was Jeremiah, and Daniel, and Ezekiel, and then we had some minor prophets as well, right? And so God didn't compare Jesus to them. He said, I'm going to raise up a prophet like you. A prophet is someone who speaks, right? Who speaks what God is saying. And to me, that's heavy, y'all. I think that's heavy. That's heavy. Not only did Moses write a good portion of the Old Testament, he also received and passed down the law that God wanted Israel to have. And also, did you know that Moses made a guest appearance in the New Testament? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. When Jesus was here on earth, right? When Jesus was here on earth, he went up to Mount Tabor with Peter and John, and while they were up there, Jesus literally transfigured before them, which means that he appeared in radiant light, in glory. Peter and John saw the glory of Jesus on this mountain. That's why they call it the Mountain of Transfiguration, the Mount of Transfiguration, Mount Tabor in the southern part of Israel. But guess who showed up to that little private party? Guess who showed up? Our boy Moses. Moses made a guest appearance in the New Testament. When Jesus was here on earth, Moses showed up. And with him was his other prophet buddy, Elijah. The two of them came to that mountain. How it happened, we don't know. Supernaturally, it happened. But they were together with Jesus. And Peter and John were just like in the background, like, oh my God, is that Moses and Elijah talking to Jesus over there? And unfortunately, we don't know what happened in that little powwow. We don't know what kind of things they talked about because nobody heard it, nor did they record it. So that's too bad for us. But do you get why Moses was a special guy? Just a little bit, just from the little that I've just told you, you know. And he was special. And you're probably wondering, well, when are we going to get to Psalm 90? We're here to talk about Psalm 90. We'll get there. I promise we will get there. But I think it's important for you to, you know, understand the background of the writer of this psalm. Because our boy Moses wrote Psalm 90. And so we'll go deep into it when we get together the next time. But it was important for you to know who the Songwriter was. Moses also wrote 2 other psalms that are recorded in the Bible. One is found in Exodus 15, and the other one is found in Deuteronomy 32. And so here we have Psalm 90, and he wrote these 3 together. But the other 2, the one in Exodus 15 and the one in Deuteronomy 32, those were written as songs. This one, Psalm 90, is a prayer, but the other 2, they were written as songs. And so it's obvious that our boy Moses, not only was he an important figure, not only was he a leader and a close friend of God, but he was a singer-songwriter. Moses was a singer-songwriter, y'all. And, you know, I think that that's so cool. So very cool. And, you know, you can look it up. You can look it up. Exodus 15 is known as the Song of Moses. And Revelation, in the book of Revelation, it goes back and it refers to the saints. It says that the saints sung the Song of Moses. That's pretty cool for Revelation to make it. That's how you know he made an impact. He was an impact maker here on earth. Besides Jesus, Moses was an incredible person. And then Deuteronomy 32, when he wrote that was a lyrical recording of his song. It was another song, and that was 52 verses as well. So he had time on his hands, besides talking to God and leading the people and giving the people the law. Like he had a lot of time on his hands to even write a 52 verse song. So yeah, anyway, I see that I'm out of time, but we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk a little bit more about Moses and understand why he wrote Psalm 90. All right. So I want to thank you for listening, for watching. Be sure to follow us here on Facebook. We're also on Instagram as Second Gen Music. And you can go to our website, secondgenmusic.com. And we have some links in our description there for you, so you can just, click and go. Sign up for our weekly blog. This morning you'll see we're publishing our new blog, and it's going to be talking about the songs of Psalms. And if you're there, you'll stay updated with what we're doing. We're going to be starting our music classes up again in September 17th. You can sign up on our website for that. And I would love if you bought me a coffee. I love coffee, y'all. I only drink it in the morning. I'm not an all-day coffee drinker, but you can buy us a coffee. There's a link in our bio. And what does that do? Every coffee that is bought for us, we can continue teaching, training, and developing skilled musicians and singers. And lastly, share this with other music lovers, other songwriters. Because we're going to be talking about the Psalms and how it relates to music and writing and how it relates to life and the Word of God. All right. So I want to thank you for being with us today. And let me just bless you as we head out of here. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance and give you shalom. Ciao, ciao. Blessings.